Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is garden tour day. We are doing our mid-July garden tour. And to start off today, we are going to start in the vining pumpkin patch and check everything out. I had Beck weed whip it yesterday, and so I haven't even checked it since he did that. So I want to go see. The last time I was out there, it was looking good. It looks like we needed some fertilizer, which usually I don't fertilize after like pumpkins start producing. I usually just do a little bit at the beginning of the season in the hole as I plant, like I've talked about. And then I do after like probably 2 to 4 weeks, I'll do some through the drip, and that's it. And so I am thinking that these guys need it. I also almost hit a big, huge deer coming out of there, so the deer could be eating the pumpkin leaves. I highly doubt it. We've never had an issue with deer eating the pumpkin leaves, but if that could be part of the issue too. Oh, he did a good job weed whipping that. So we started putting up the bunting when we hit the deer, and then the weed whipping kind of took precedence. But they're looking pretty good. I wish that they were bushier, so I am going to give them some fertilizer. But we got pumpkins. It's exciting. We got honeybees. Look at all these bees out here. So these guys are looking great. We just need a little more. I have to remember they're not bush pumpkins, so they're not going to be as massive as the bush plants, but I do want a little bit more lushness here. They kind of have more of a yellow tint, and you can see here, I'm thinking it's just a mineral deficiency or vitamin deficiency, whatever. So I'm going to run some fertilizer in the drip here. Tons of flowers, which is great. And look at all these bees. I definitely don't need to worry about hand pollinating pumpkins out here, because these guys are, the bees are definitely doing their job. But I do need to look into what I need to use to fertilize them, because now that they have pumpkins on the vine, I believe you want to do more potassium, but I'm not 100% positive. So I need to look into that a little bit and see what I can do to get these guys a little bit more boost. And hopefully that will do the trick on them. So now let's go up and we'll check the bush pumpkins and the high tunnel. Make a pit stop at the mums and the vining pumpkins and the other flowers while we're on our way. The mums are doing awesome, and they get lots of fertilizer every day, lots of water every day, and they are doing great. This is what they look like. You can see I have not spread them out yet, but they definitely are needing it because they are getting massive. So that is on my to-do list. So all we're going to do is we're going to take and move like this row over, then move this row over a bit, and then move this row over a bit, and then that way they all should be good. But some of these things are already 18 inches. They still have like 4 to 6 weeks of growing yet. So I'm really, really, really happy with them this year. And the other flowers are doing wonderful as well. There were a couple that we needed to get early, and I didn't want to get them early, but our rep said that they would be fine, and they're just going to be bigger, which is fine because then they make a bigger pot. But it's the marigolds and celosia, and they're just plugging along, doing awesome too. So you can see the celosia and the marigolds are doing great. And we have everybody on drip now, which is wonderful. No more watering by hand. I am having to water these binding pumpkins by hand. Oh, look at all the bees. Which that is not a big issue. And I did start getting these guys more trellised and pruned yesterday. And they are really taking off. Look at how tall that one is already. We do have some baby gourds in here and some baby pumpkins, and so that is good. When these really get going, that's gonna look gorgeous. I love it. Look how great that looks. I did a live last night from the bush pumpkins, and so I'm not really gonna go in there, but they are doing awesome and looking great. And here inside the high tunnel, things are finally pulling together, and it is feeling a lot less cluttered and a lot less chaotic. We had a market on Saturday that we went to, and I even brought some zucchini and some peppers and some tomatoes. And so we are just kind of at the start of getting enough produce to be able to sell and everything, which is great. So our zucchini, we have been getting quite a few round zucchini off of the plants, and now they're just kind of starting to fill back in. You can see there, and a whole bunch of babies on this one. And then that one, I don't think I've gotten any off of that one yet, but it does have some bigger ones. You can see right there. But then our Italian white zucchini is doing awesome. We've had some off of these guys. You can see those. And these guys were really starting to get trellised. You can see I pruned last night and got things somewhat trellised. And this is kind of the hardest time because the plants are wanting to stay low. But now that I got them tied up and up to about that first rung, they'll start naturally growing up, and then it kind of supports itself, so I don't need to tie that. And then this is the Dunja zucchini, and I have not pruned this. I don't think I pruned it at all, or if I did, it was just a little bit at the beginning. So I still need to work on that a little bit more. And I have gotten some zucchini off of here, so that is good. But I do need to, you can see that like these bottom leaves are all like laying on the ground, but they all look awesome. I need to prune those so that it puts more growth up into the new part so that it'll continue to grow up. So then over here in the cucumbers, I got these guys trellised and pruned pretty well. I was really late on some of my trellising, and so, or I was really late on some of my pruning, and so there are some leaders that ended up being too big, and so I ended up trellising those as well. But then I'm trying to stay on top of keeping up with all the little suckers, I guess is what they're called. So then that way it puts more growth into the cucumbers and not all the little offshoots that it wants to do. So these, for the most part, are my pickling cucumbers, and I have been eating off of these guys quite often because there's, you know, the early birds who end up ripening earlier than everybody else. So I've been eating like one every day off of here, but they are about to take off. You can see that there are baby cucumbers everywhere, and I want these guys to all ripen at the same time so we can make pickles out of them. But then over here we have, there's a couple pickling cucumbers in here, might just be one, that I had tagged wrong, and I got confused. So I think it's just this one. I think the rest are all slicers, and they are doing good. It looks like there's one ready to harvest right down there, but they are thick. These guys don't like putting off suckers nearly as much as those guys, and I'm wondering if there's a reasoning for that. That's something I will look into in the future. Like, is there a determinate and an indeterminate cucumber? I have no clue. So that's something I will look into in the future. But you can see that these guys are already taller than me, and we are getting just a couple cucumbers off of them, but pretty soon those are gonna, at the beginning of the season, everything always ripens much slower. So that is a given. And then in front of those, we do have beans, and they are kicking butt too. So the beans are doing great. I am late on my beans because these guys weren't planted till just a few weeks ago, but they are doing wonderful, and they're gonna have blossoms any day now, you can tell. And then behind are my tomatoes. And I have not had any more issues since that one that I had. I pulled it out from that hole right there, but I've not had any more issues like that. And these guys are just doing phenomenal, and I'm really, really happy with them this year. I'm trying to not prune as much as I normally would, partly because I don't have the time, and the second reason is because I'm trying to see if maybe it helps the plant become a little stronger if I don't prune quite as much. So I am leaving a lot more leaves on than I normally do, hoping that my thought is, last year I was talking about the prairie fire tomatoes. They're my favorite, but we didn't get a lot of tomatoes off of them. But I pruned them really heavily, and then this winter I realized that they are semi-indeterminate, so I'm not supposed to prune them very much. And so I'm not pruning them at all. I have the bottom 12 inches or so pruned, and I'm trying to stay up with keeping them trellis, but you can see that that is not working very well because it's kind of just a disaster with them. They are chaotic. Tomato plants are chaotic when you don't prune them. But anyways, part of my thought is that last year was our first year growing with shade cloth. And so if I am a heavy pruner and I have shade cloth on here, and we're in northern Wisconsin, and we also are affected by wildfire smoke quite often, that is probably going to affect how much sun my tomatoes get, and it might also affect how photosynthesis and how active they are and how much growth they're going to have. And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna prune a lot less and keep a lot more leaves on and see if that helps. And I'm thinking it has. I don't quite remember last year because it was kind of a rough year, but the plants are taller than me already, so that is good. You can see here, look at that one, that's an overachiever there. That's a sun gold. Both of these are sun golds, and they are probably 7 feet, maybe closer to 8. So that is my plan for the tomatoes. And these guys are on drip. All of these guys in here now are on drip. So that makes watering everything super easy. You can see I have some ripe tomatoes here to pick. And then we have some prairie fire that are blushing again. I took a couple containers to the market, and those sold immediately, but they were just mixed cherry tomatoes. So I had prairie fire, I had some sun gold, I had a couple Berry's crazy cherry, some Napa Chardonnay, and I think maybe sunrise bumblebee. And so I just had like mixed varieties, and people loved them. So that was good. So I probably will continue doing that as far as mixing and not keeping them separate. But I picked them really heavily for the market, and so now I'm gonna let everybody rest and just pick a couple here and there, and then that way we'll have a bigger harvest in a couple of days, and I'm not down here picking like every day. So here's the Napa Chardonnay. Look at how beautiful those are. Man, I didn't bring any mozzarella down, otherwise I would have a caprese salad for breakfast, but that is beautiful. These are pretty good. You know, when you're used to sun gold and prairie fire, other tomatoes definitely don't have as much flavor, but I do like these. These are the Napa Chardonnay. And then this is right here, sunrise bumblebee that looks ripe. I'll show you the difference between the two. So the Napa Chardonnay is the color of, or the bottom is the color of Berry's Crazy Cherry. It's that really blush, pale champagne color, and the top has just a little bit of color. And then the sunrise bumblebee is orange with some, or like a yellowy orange with some reddish orange coloring there. And then this is what it looks like next to a ripe sun gold. So that's beautiful, isn't it? And then you add in the prairie fire. Let's see if I can find a ripe prairie fire. This guy looks ripe. Yep. Those look great. Oh, and look at these guys. They are so good. There's nothing that beats homegrown tomatoes, especially coming down and having them first thing in the morning for breakfast. Oh, I love it. So you can see I'm about to start picking a lot. Oh, I forgot to show you my melons and my beans, my peppers. Let me show you those first. So these are the succulents that are for the baskets, and these guys don't need to be on drip nearly as much as the plants out there do. So I just have those in here because then it's super easy to just water by hand, because we have our wind up hose right there. But then the beans, these are our second succession of beans. These are green beans, where those are wax beans, and they are doing pretty good. We did have issues with the wind pulling this up and breaking beans off, but we'll call this good. And then our peppers, I've already picked some and sold some, but they are looking great. And it looks like these are habanero, heatless habanero peppers, and they are looking, still feels kind of waxy, but they're looking like they're getting close. I think those need to turn orange though. I need to look that up. I might be wrong, unless these are part of Peppergate. Sure if you heard about Peppergate or not, but some major seed companies had, or a major seed company that supplies seeds for like all the big names of seeds, they had mess ups in their labeling. And so like people thought that they were getting hot peppers and they ended up being bell, and people who thought they were getting bell ended up getting like jalapeno peppers and all of that kind of stuff. And so they call it Peppergate online. Most of my seeds are from Baker Creek, so I don't really have an issue because they supply their own seeds and they have their own people that they buy seeds from. They don't get them from a big manufacturer, but I'm not sure about that habanero. I did try a small one and it wasn't spicy. So I have no clue. I have zero clue, and since it's just for me, I don't care. But that has been a lot of excitement online, and I'm very happy that the seeds that I've sold have not been affected by that, because I know that there are a lot of greenhouses that bought plugs from companies. Just like I showed you in previous videos, the flower plugs that we do all of our flowers with, they also do vegetables, and so that's where most of the nurseries and greenhouses get their vegetables from. Is they don't start them from seed, they get them as a plug. And so the company that does the plugs, their seeds were affected by that. So a lot of seeds were supposed to be bell peppers and they ended up not being. So those might be affected by that, but I don't think so, but we will find out in the future, I guess. So that is our mid-July update. We are starting to get produce. We've brought stuff to the market. We are getting ready now to start picking a lot more, because it always seems like those first few fruit are always take forever to ripen. And so now that we've gotten past that hurdle, we're gonna have lots, and we'll be able to have for the market, for our family, and for our roadside stand. But before we finish up this video, let's head up to our perennial garden, our perennial flower garden, and see what is going on up there. And we are going to finish up the video up here in the front perennial garden that I built. And things are starting to fill out, and we are getting a lot of hydrangea blooms, which is awesome. Our big issue is the chickens. The chickens can fit through a standard size cattle panel, which is what we have blocking up over there. And so they still come in here, even though I have fencing up, and they will dig in here, which is good for weeding, makes weeding a lot easier. But it also makes it hard because it's really messing with the roots. You can see that hydrangea is not doing well, and it's because of that. But it is looking beautiful, and we are making progress up here. They also have dug up my drip multiple times. I've kind of given up on that at this point, but that is looking good. Look at that sedum. I can't wait to split that so that I can have one over there. That's going to look gorgeous. And this is a green twister coneflower. It is looking beautiful. So that is it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.